Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to take a look at this interesting and unique knife that I'm just calling the Bfonder knife. And John got this on Amazon, so we are still trying to bring home this whole collection of... John sent me a box of knives, and that man just sits on the internet all day. I swear to God, he's trying to find the best value, lowest cost knives out there and send them to me to see how they hold up in cut testing. So far, he's batting just about 1,000 with these things. He's found some really good knives. Some are just off-brands, like the Bfonder here. Some are replicas that actually have done exceptionally well, despite having unknown steels. So this is just another one in that collection. We are going to dive in and take a closer look at this. Before we get too deep into here, if you haven't already, I'd love to have you hit that subscribe and notification bell. Join our little band of renegades on the dark corners of the interwebs, looking at very inexpensive, affordable, and occasionally some replica knives and seeing how well they perform in the real world. That's what we do. If you hadn't already, throw me a thumbs up before you leave, if you would. That really helps channel out. You know, it's hard for little channels like us to really kind of get out there and get found. YouTube doesn't really like us all that much, so it is what it is. Thanks for all the help you give. I do appreciate that. Let's take a quick peek at the box it came in. This is an Amazon knife. So John got this on Amazon for under 10 bucks, $9.97. The box it came in is interesting because they put it in a box, but it was also in blister wrap inside the box. It does have a little bit of crunched up paperwork here. They call this their instruction manual. I guess that's what this is an instruction manual in case you need such a thing. The one thing I want to mention here on this is this cloth. So this cloth is the thinnest cloth. I meant to bring some toilet paper. I was going to show you guys a roll of toilet paper. This cloth is thinner than this sheet of paper. It is by far the thinnest piece of material I have ever seen. Like, this isn't even like t-shirt material. This is literally thinner than tissue paper, than toilet paper. But it's soft. I'll give them credit for that. It definitely is a very soft and flimsy kind of cloth. So I guess it would clean the blade, and that's really all you need. That's why they gave it to us, right? Let's do some size comps. We'll get into this thing. Let's get moving here. This is your PM2, in this case the 𝗕𝗂𝗃81, which is the exact same size and specs basically, and the 𝗕𝗂𝗃3. You can see this is in between both of these sizes of knives, certainly a little bit longer than the 𝗕𝗂𝗃3. Wonder about the cutting edge on these. I always like to compare cutting edges and see how does the cutting edge compare. So this is going to be actually just a hair longer of a cutting edge than the PM2, but otherwise, I mean, close enough for government work for sure. What else do I want to compare this to? How about we do the Civivi Vision FG, and why not bring out a little Rosie? Haven't gotten him out in a while. You can see this is in between both of these knives, so a great medium-sized knife. Perfect EDC size all day long. Let's do the quick dollar bill test, because why not? Everybody likes to compare it to a dollar bill. I'm trying to make sure I get that back end lined up right. So pretty good. It's that long, right? Yeehaw for that. The other comparison I want to do, because we're going to talk about this comparison in just a minute. Hopefully, I think you can probably see a few similarities. So this is the 𝗕𝗂𝘁 Serene in D2 steel. And I did a review on this months ago. I've had this in my collection for a while, but you can see a lot of similarities. Overall blade shape. These are both button locks. They both have metal handles. So we're going to do some comparisons to that here in just a minute. Let's do some specs before we get too deep in here. The full open position is 7.1 inches. The blade is 3¼ inches long. In the closed position, this is a 4.4 inch knife. It's a relatively thin blade, 105 thousandths. It actually looks a little thicker than it actually measures out, but that's 105 thousandths. You can see it does stay thick out to the tip here, pretty uneven on the grind lines. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. Handle thickness, 4/10 of an inch. 4/10 of an inch, so not a ½ inch, it's 4/10 of an inch. Little on the thin side. We'll talk about that when we get to the ergonomics section. The blade finish is a satin finish. This is a hollow ground, nice deep hollow grind on this. The scale, the handles on this are actually steel. Just good old steel all the way through. These are not milled out. Let's see if I can get some light on there. There's no milling anywhere in these scales that would lighten them up. Interesting choice on that. The blade is a 440C. So one of the things we'll talk about 440C in just a minute. Let me finish the specs. The weight on this, because it is solid steel slabs of handles, 4.84 ounces. So a little on the heavier side. This is a button plunge lock style lock, if you hadn't already seen that in action. John got this for just under $10. Behind the edge is not bad, 19 thousandths. So could be more, could be less. That's pretty average, 19,000. Still fairly slicey. We'll take a closer look at the blade here in just a minute. Let's talk about this 440 steel. So I did some comparisons between 440 and D2. What's really the difference between the 440 and the D2? So this is my big mega chart here. I think I put these up for people to read. So a D2 is 5 on edge retention. 440 is 4.5. So D2 and 440 very close in edge retention. D2 just edges it out. The big difference is the amount of chromium, meaning corrosion resistance. This is where D2 is considered semi-stainless and definitely can rust in wet and humid conditions. 440C has a lot of chromium in it, which makes it very corrosion resistant. So this, 440C was the super steel of a decade ago, right? And D2, and they're both the exact same on toughness, 3.5. These are all scores from Knife Steel Nerds website. I put into little charts like this. I do have a post on my channel, I think, with all those charts on there. If y'all can't find it, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to share that with you. All right, let's talk about some hardware, a little bit of a closer look. So these are T6 body screws and pocket clip screws. Standard par for the course. This is a captive pivot. You can see there's no screw on the front, T8 on the back. Unfortunately, the pocket clip is not reversible. I don't know why they did that. Also, let me close it up here. I don't know why they did this. So, like, you've got a screw already right here. Why would you drill 2 more screws when you've got one right here? You could have just moved the pocket clip up and put it over this screw, made it a full deep carry. Now, some people like, there's a couple of reasons. So now I'll answer that question. One is you've got your lanyard hole here. And so maybe you want that lanyard to sit up higher out of your pocket. Some people like that. That's why they use a lanyard. They can grab it out of their pocket easier with a lanyard. I know my buddy John, he's a big fan of that. He puts lanyards on his knives. But you could have easily made this reversible. I mean, you could have, first of all, you could have just tapped 2 more screws and put it below here, but move it up and just have your 2 screws using the top hole and the second hole. Anyhow, I don't know why they do the things they do. That doesn't always make sense. Well, I'll show you a perfect example. Let's bring our comparison knife back in. It's the exact same thing here. You can see they just tapped those 2 screws. Now, they did the same thing. Why in the world wouldn't you just make your pocket clip deep carry and not have to tap 2 more screws? You can see they did the same thing, but at least they made it reversible over here. So don't know why. You never can tell on things like that. That's the way it goes. The scales on this, again, as I mentioned, solid steel. They're chamfered well. They're comfortable. It's a little on the thin side. So when a knife gets down to 4/10 of an inch, to me, that's just about the rock bottom I want to go. I prefer a knife that fills out my hand a little bit more towards the 1/2 inch in total width, total thickness here. But a lot of people really do want the thinnest. They prefer the thinner knives. It doesn't bother them. Matter of fact, it's an attractive feature to them. So yeehaw for that. I can't, it is what it is. I don't have any complaints. It's just not particularly my particular style. It's going to be a little slippery. There's no jimping anywhere on this knife. None on the blade, none on the handle, none on the flipper tab. So it's smooth. Some people like that, some people don't. I prefer to have some jimping. I think most people prefer to have some jimping. Even on the Sen cut here that we're comparing it to, it has plenty of jimping out here. So even if it has jimping also on the flipper tab. So even if they were modeling it after this one, which I think they were, but listen, in all honesty, there are 100 knives, different knives that all have this same or very similar shape. So it's not like Sencut came up with the design either. They're copying someone else who copied someone else. Probably goes back 100 years this knife shape was invented. I'm just thinking, why not try to, at least if you're going to copy a design, get the most out of it with some good jimping. But again, some people don't like jimping, so it is what it is. Overall size, I'm a size large glove. You can see XL would probably fit on here. This is not really intended for a finger choil, although although if you're very careful, you can probably get away with it if you have skinny fingers like me. I'm not quite on the sharp point of the blade right there. I might try that cardboard cutting, but I just don't recommend it. And there's no point. You don't want to put your finger here. That's not going to be comfortable. So you really are kind of confined to being behind here, although this gives you also a good finger guard, so you're not going to slip up the blade either, again, given the fact that you have no jimping. So pros and cons on all that stuff right there. The action is pretty smooth on this thing. It's obviously on some kind of bearings. I'm going to say these are steel bearings. I have not taken it apart, and you won't be able to hear that, but you can hear the difference between steel and ceramic bearings. Once you've listened to enough of them, it's not really hard to distinguish between the two. It's not like a specialized skill or anything like that. It does tend to bounce a little bit, although I'm sticking it pretty well now. You can see it does bounce. Y'all know I hate a knife that bounces, and a lot of button locks are prone to that. If you time it just right, as I'm doing for the most part, if you own this knife, you're probably not going to have much of a problem. But you can see a lot of times it does bounce even when I'm not trying to do. It's fairly drop shut. Give it credit for that. Once you hit that button, that does drop down in there. The flipper tab is pretty solid on here, albeit no jimping. Can you push button it? No, you can't really. So this is one of the places that it does fall a little bit short. First, I will mention at least that there's a tiny bit of detent lash there, but the detent overall is quite soft on this knife. Could just be this one model, maybe it's the whole design, I don't know, but I'm going to say that's pretty soft on the detent. You can absolutely easily fail this thing all day long. As a matter of fact, you have to make a conscious effort. Even that didn't get it. You have to. But it doesn't take a lot of force either. You just have to flip it. I don't think most people are going to miss it, like misfire it or fail it in flipping it. Even if you're push button, well, push buttoning, you have to give it a good firm push button. If you're light switching it, no problem at all. Doesn't take a ton of force. It breaks free very easily because of the low detent. Anyhow, worth pointing out. Just thought it was one of those things. Drop point blade. It does have a high center line on the tip, which means you're going to have to get up a little bit higher on your wrist if you're going to do draw cuts, which is what we're doing, opening packages, slicing through things like that. That's going to require you to get a little bit higher. It does have a relatively thick all the way out to the tip of the blade on the grind. This is a pretty deep hollow grind. But here's what I want to show you. I'm not even sure how I would measure this. So here is where the hollow grind starts on this side. Just trust me, it's a lot shorter here than it is on that side. It goes all the way back to here, and it's just not quite even. That's what you get with a lot of these knives. Pretty tall grind on here, which suggests to me, I didn't measure the angle of the grind, but because you've got a hollow grind, and this is a relatively tall grind right here on where it's actually sharpened, I'm going to say that's probably 18 or 20 degree, which is pretty good. A lot of times you'll get these 22, 24, or even often higher degree on the edge. This is going to be a pretty good edge grind on there. Let's see if it's sharp. Can you bother to do that yet? Yeah, that's really sharp. That's a nice all the way, good grind on that. So yeah, I'm going to give Yeehaw for that grind. Pretty good overall on that. All right, no jimping, I already mentioned. No forward choiled blade stop pin is internal in here. It's pretty solid. There's a little bit of blade shouldering in there. Sorry, I'm not even on camera in here to receive it. No blade play left or right, up or down. No pivot lash, which is good. As I mentioned, there is a tiny bit of detent lash. That blade is pretty darn centered, y'all. I mean, for a $10 knife, for sure. That blade is centered all you want or need. And again, the thickness is really one of the strong points of this knife. This is a knife you can feel very confident if you had to, pry out some staples out of whatever you're working in and you got your pocket knife. It's a $10 pocket knife and it's steel. So you don't have to worry about beating it up, dropping it, even prying some stuff. Even if you're just having to poke into like a hard rubber hose and twist it around or something like that, this is a nice thick blade all the way out to the tip. I'd feel very confident in doing some really hard use kind of work on a knife like this. Ergonomically, it's just okay. It's decent. It's not great. It's a little on the thin side. When you get knives on the thin side, that means you've got a lot of pressure on relatively thin edges when you're really bearing down into it. So that could potentially become a hot spot. Pocket clip is really done well. I didn't mention that in terms of the bill sticks up just a little tiny bit. That is enough to get over most pockets. It's an almost deep carry. It's a little on, no, it's actually not on the stiff side. It's quite, might even be a little loose. I think that's going to be pretty good, pretty well dialed in. It's a little longer than I'd care for, but all in all, I've seen way worse pocket clips on a whole lot of knives, so not too bad on that. Ergonomically, again, maybe a little bit slick with wet hands. You know, you can certainly do your draw cuts. You could do some pinch cuts. You get back here, you feel very confident cutting into things like that if you had to do it. So pretty good overall ergonomically. Negatives, as far as I can tell, maybe a little bit slippery, like I said, T6 screws, but shoot, all these cheap knives have T6 body and pocket clip screws. Not the world's greatest ergonomics, but not terrible. It does bounce, and that annoys me and requires an extra effort for me to get this thing back into my pocket. But again, once you learn the mechanism and when to let go of that button, you're going to be fine. You're going to figure it out, and the action will be great. Does have good drop shot action. Overall, the quality of the build feels good. Feels very solid in the hand. I guess the other negative would be it's a little on the heavy side with these thick steel liners or scales on it. Almost 5 ounces. There's a whole lot of knives that come in way under that. And just by way of comparison, this knife is an ounce heavier than this knife. Of course, this knife has aluminum scales versus steel scales, but you can see the larger, the 𝗕𝗂𝘁 is an ounce lighter than this one. So, but you don't get the hollow ground blade, and well, this does have reversible, so I don't know, but this isn't $10 either. So, it's trade-offs. You're always making trade-offs with these knives. I guess the real question is, how well will the steel hold up? Is this 440 done well? We have seen some 440 steel knives that have done outstanding on our tests. So I guess we're going to wait and see on that. Otherwise, let me know, has anybody gotten a Bfonder knife, and what did you think about it? I'm just looking at this grind down here in this corner. That's not the world's greatest grind, you can see right there. And a little bit, you're going to have a hard time sharpening this thing. I didn't mention the sharpening choil. Let's see if maybe I zoom in on that, gets a little better view. It gets thick really fast right there. So that, although it looks like a sharpening choil, is going to be just too thick, really. You're going to spend a lot of time and a whole lot of your sharpening stone trying to grind down this corner. And you can see that is why they've got this kind of funky looking grind on it where it's really big down there at the corner. It's just so thick, it really thickens up. That plunge grind is too shallow. They should have done like Spyderco, a nice deep sharp drop off plunge grind. That would have given us a good sharpening choil that was very functional. So there you go. I'm going to put that back into the negative column as well. Overall, for $10, you got a knife that you can beat the heck out of. Probably has a pretty decent steel. 440 used to be a great steel. It's very corrosion resistant, so you don't have to worry about, throwing it in a tackle box or using it in wet and humid conditions. You don't have to worry about dropping it with the steel scales. Overall, it's a good knife, heavy duty enough, solid enough, good thick blade, strong tip. That's what you're getting with this knife. Let me know, any of y'all have had any experience with this thing. How did you like it? How did it hold up for you? That's always the big question. How'd the edge hold up for you overall? Do you like it? Would you trade it? What did you like more or less? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up, notification bell, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.